Hello and welcome to today's Wards Automotive Fast Chat, sponsored by Ally. My name is Tom Murphy, Managing Editor of Wards Auto, and I will be hosting today's conversation. Joining me from Ally is Doug Timmerman, President of Dealer Financial Services. Welcome to you, Doug.
Hey, Tom. Good to be with you today.
Yeah, thank you. So, Doug, let's get on with the questions. With crisis comes opportunity. What changes and opportunities have emerged in the last 18 months to help dealers to interact more productively with their customers?
First of all, relative to the crisis, I think as an industry, we demonstrate our resiliency once again. I've said it many times before, but I think dealers really led the effort through the pandemic. And our focus at Ally, as always, was to be a good partner, and very proud in that regard. I think the relief efforts that we provided, our active involvement, engagement with the dealer body, never backing off and staying connected with the dealers really made a big difference. And the industry has been rewarded. I think the resiliency is being recognized. Stock prices for auto-related companies are up a lot. Dealer franchise values are up a lot. It's a lot of good things to say. And relative to changes, it really gets back to the entrepreneurial spirit of the dealer body, their ability to adjust quickly. And again, it's really amazing when you think about the amount of change and the speed in which they moved. And for dealers, it's always about process. If you ask a dealer what's important about how they operate, somewhere in their response is going to be process, process, process. So in the pandemic, many dealers were challenged to figure out how do you do more with less. And a very simple example of that is more discipline around appointment setting. They had to be more efficient. Appointment setting helps in that regard. They had to limit the number of customers in the showroom. Obviously, appointment setting helps in that regard. And appointment setting also helps with the customer experience. It sounds simple, but I tell you, it's probably one of the more important learnings coming out of the pandemic. And oftentimes, simple is good, right?
So the retail auto market, including new and used valuations, has changed so much in the past year. Do you expect a return to normal anytime soon?
We think normalization for both used valuations and average new vehicle transactions will most likely happen over an extended period of time. As an industry, you're always concerned about used vehicle prices falling off a cliff during times of stress. Normally, that's what happens. Obviously, OEM production constraints have caused the opposite during the pandemic. Obviously, used valuations have trended up a lot. We think they've probably reached their peak and they'll start to trend down from here. And again, the upward pressure on used has primarily been driven by production constraints. And those constraints are going to be solved over an extended period of time. And in turn, used valuations will normalize over an extended period of time. And I think it's also important to note used valuation trends will probably lag the return of production, as there's still a big hole to fill, a lot of inventory needed out there, and a lot of pent-up demand from customers.
So during the pandemic, more and more of the sales and the final delivery process was conducted online. What processes do you think might remain that way, and which do you think may be better off returning to the showroom?
I think we've returned as somewhere in between where we were before the pandemic and where we were at the height of the pandemic. And a lot of that shift back has been based on the desire of the customer, their desire to test drive, their desire to go to the dealership, their desire to take delivery at the dealership. So, the answer is, of course, customer choice. I think it's also interesting, though, that there is definitely a lot of consumer feedback, and quite frankly, they feel more comfortable, more empowered on the dealer showroom floor to finalize the transaction, take delivery, than the vehicle being delivered to their home and completing the process at their home. But no doubt the consumer experience will continue to evolve to something more digital over time.
Tight new vehicle inventories have helped push up prices and have driven activity in the used vehicle market. What are some things dealers can do differently to take even more advantage of the boom in used vehicle demand?
I think it really gets down to expanding your sourcing capabilities relative to used. That includes online auctions, includes direct-to-consumer purchases, obviously active solicitation on lease maturities, all those things. Many dealers were pretty well positioned coming into the pandemic, but some relied heavily on physical auctions pre-pandemic. So Again, dealers had to adapt. Our online auction activity at Smart Auction has been really strong. We're seeing a lot of new users on the site. So online auction sourcing is critical. You don't want to miss an opportunity on lease maturities. Direct from consumer is really catching on. Some dealers are doing significant number of purchases direct from the consumer. Still not probably embraced as widely as I think it should be. And the reason for that, it's not only a great added source of inventory, but it's also a great alternative way to start a relationship with a customer. And then on the other side, relative to inventory management, again, we're going to see some normalization. Good news is we don't think valuations will fall off a cliff, but valuations are going to trend lower. So it's important to keep inventory levels tight. It's important to focus on units that will turn quickly. But I think those are some of the primary focus points.
Well, I'm afraid that we are out of time. I'd like to thank Doug Timmerman for joining our Fast Chat today. And thank you, Ally, for sponsoring this series. On behalf of Wards Automotive, have a productive remainder of the day.